"You're finished, old man. Everything you built is mine now." Marcus Cole's voice roared across the deck of the luxury boat, thick with venom and years of buried rage. His face twisted with hatred, inches from the man he once called brother. Nathaniel Cole, 44, soaked and pale, clung to the metal railing of the upper deck. His steps were uneven, his grip unsteady. Something was wrong. The bourbon Marcus had poured earlier, his peace offering, was laced with something. The warmth had turned to fire in his blood. His tongue felt thick, his muscles sluggish. "You drugged me," Nathaniel slurred, one hand trembling as he pointed at Marcus. "You little coward." Marcus stepped forward, a cruel smile slicing across his face. "You think I'd let you die with dignity? You stole my father, my life, and this empire. I was your shadow for decades." Marcus roared. "You stole everything, Dad's attention, the company, the life I should have had. You think handing me a title and a corner office makes us family? You think that erases 30 years of being treated like a damn shadow?" Nathaniel narrowed his eyes, his voice low and controlled. "You were given every chance." Marcus laughed a hollow, humorless bark. "No, I was given leftovers. You ungrateful little—" Nathaniel hissed, fists clenched. "You don't get to call me that," Marcus roared, slamming his shoulder into Nathaniel's chest. With that, Marcus lunged. The two men grappled on the slippery deck, fists flying. Nathaniel swung first but missed. His vision doubled. Marcus drove his shoulder into his brother's chest, slamming him back against the railing. They struggled, two grown men tangled in bloodlines and betrayal, as the yacht rocked violently beneath them. Below, on a small paddle boat hidden behind the mist and trees, Maya William watched in horror. She had followed them. Something hadn't felt right when Marcus showed up at Cold Tower earlier that day, all smiles and false brotherhood, asking Nathaniel to join him for a quiet cruise to clear the air. Maya had served the Cole family for 5 years. She knew Marcus's smile, and she didn't trust it. So she followed quiet, unnoticed, drifting along the bank, staying just far enough to stay hidden. And now, she saw Marcus raise something heavy. A bronze anchor weight. Her breath caught in her throat. Crack! The object struck Nathaniel's temple with a sickening sound. His body sagged. The fight left his limbs. Then Marcus shoved him over the edge. Maya didn't think. She moved. She leapt from her boat, hitting the freezing river with a splash that stole the air from her lungs. The current was faster than she expected, fueled by storm runoff. Waves battering her from every side. Rain pelted her eyes, blinding her. She kicked hard, searching the water. "Nathaniel," she screamed, but the wind swallowed her voice. A flash of fabric gray, half submerged, floated several yards ahead. She swam harder, arms slicing the surface, gasping for air between waves. With every ounce of strength, she swam. Come on," she gasped. "Where are you?" Then there, a body, floating. Maya dove beneath the surface, teeth chattering from the cold, and wrapped her arms around Nathaniel's chest. He was heavy dead weight, and the blood from the gash on his head mingled with the rain and river water. She grabbed him under the arms, but the weight of his soaked body and the pull of the current dragged her under. She coughed, surfaced, kicked again, refusing to let go. A wave crashed into them. Maya's head slammed against a jagged piece of driftwood near the embankment. Pain exploded behind her eyes. Blood mixed with rain and river water. Her grip slipped, but she screamed through the agony and held on. "No," she growled. "Not tonight. Not like this." With every ounce of strength she had left, she dragged his limp body toward the muddy shoreline. Her knees hit the gravel. Her elbows buckled. Her breath came in wheezing gasps. But before we continue, if you find this story interesting, make sure to subscribe. It really encourages us to keep bringing you more. She didn't stop. She couldn't. 10 agonizing minutes later, both lay collapsed at the edge of the river, just behind Maya's small shotgun house. Nathaniel unconscious and bloodied, Maya heaving, her face smeared with water and blood. "You stupid rich." She coughed, dragging herself to her feet, "Always thinking you're untouchable." She looked up at the dark silhouette of the coal yacht drifting downriver. No sign of Marcus, no sound except thunder and the soft ticking of rain on leaves. Maya wiped the blood from her brow and looked down at the man who had once quietly paid for her daughter's emergency surgery, without ever asking for thanks. "You saved my girl," she whispered. "Now I've saved you." Nathaniel coughed. "Alive." Maya blinked, soaked and dazed, as Nathaniel rolled onto his side, eyes fluttering open. His chazamet hairs. Recognition flickered. "You," he rasped. "Maya?" She wiped rain from her face, breathing hard. "Still breathing, I see." "La." Nathaniel tried to sit up but groaned, clutching his ribs. "You worked at the house. You used to make Kendra laugh. And you used to pay me like I mattered," she said softly. "That's why I followed your brother." Something felt wrong. Nathaniel leaned his head back on the wet grass, thunder rumbling behind him. "He tried to kill me." "I know." He turned toward her. "You saved my life. If Maya's story moved you, like the video and comment the city or town you are watching from, you might be surprised to find someone nearby watching too. You saved mine once, when you paid off my hospital bills and never told a soul. You just did it." Nathaniel was quiet for a moment, breathing in the smell of wet earth and cold metal. Then he looked at her again. "I need to stop him." Maya nodded, wiping blood from her temple. "Then we do it together, but we need a plan. You're alive, but no one knows that yet. That's our advantage." Nathaniel looked down at his ruined clothes, his broken watch, his bloodied hands. He looked back up at Maya, this black woman from the 9th Ward who had nothing, and gave him everything. "Let's take back what's mine," he said. Maya gave a tired, crooked smile. "Not just yours. What's right?" They sat there together, soaked to the bone, as the storm began to pass, leaving behind a silence more powerful than the thunder. By dawn, the storm had left behind a wet hush that blanketed the 9th Ward like a prayer. Mist clung low to the cracked pavement. Outside Maya's home, old cypress trees stood still, like silent sentinels watching over a secret too big for their roots to hold. Inside, Maya quietly zipped up her hoodie, careful not to wake Nathaniel, who was finally sleeping deeply. He looked a little better, less pale, though the bruises had darkened overnight. She had moved the armchair closer to the couch, half guarding him in case he woke confused or panicked. But he hadn't. He'd simply slept, exhausted and broken. Now it was her turn to move. She scribbled a note and left it on the table. "Went out. Don't answer the door. Don't trust anyone but me." Then she slipped into the morning. The pawn shop didn't have a name, just an old neon sign that said, "Electronics and More," above rusted security bars. The bell above the door jangled as she stepped in. The air smelled like cigarette smoke, old carpet, and fried bologna. Behind the counter sat Ronnie, a wiry white man in his 60s with thin gray hair, and a suspicion for anything that wore a badge. Maya had cleaned his place once, after his ex-wife had trashed it. He owed her. Well, Ronnie muttered, lowering his newspaper. "Haven't seen you since Biden's first year. You finally rob a bank?" "Something like that," she said, slipping him a 50. "Need a burner, no IDs, no noise." "Nah." Ronnie studied her face, still slightly swollen from the river hit, and grunted. "No questions then." He reached under the counter, shuffled through a drawer, and tossed her a small flip phone. "Charged. Clean. 1 month service." Maya nodded, slipped it into her hoodie pocket, and turned to leave. "Hey," Ronnie called after her. "You all right?" She paused. "Not even close." "Ugh." Back at the house, Nathaniel was awake, sipping tea and flipping through a tattered notebook Maya had left on the coffee table. It was filled with Kendra's doodles, grocery lists, and page after page of Maya's cursive quotes, prayers, even sketches of the old coal estate. He looked up as Maya stepped inside, soaked from the fog. "You made it," he said. "Pawn guy still owed me," she replied, handing him the burner phone. "You remember Green's number?" Nathaniel took the phone, nodded, and dialed slowly. The line rang twice before a groggy voice answered. "Howard Green speaking." "Howard," Nathaniel rasped. "It's me." A pause. Then, "What in God's name, Nathaniel, where are you? Everyone thinks you're dead. I need you to listen." and not say my name again," Nathaniel said quickly. "I was attacked by Marcus. He tried to kill me, threw me into the Mississippi. My God. Are you safe now? I'm in hiding. And I need you to find out if he's moved. Check the company, the board, my accounts. I need to know what he's touched." Howard was silent for a beat. "All right, I'll keep it quiet. But you understand, if Marcus gets wind." "He won't," Nathaniel cut in. "Not yet. Call me again in 24 hours, Howard said. "And be careful. You're a ghost now." Nathaniel hung up and handed the phone back to Maya. "He's in, quietly." "Men," Maya leaned against the counter, "you're going to need more than just an old lawyer and a housemaid." "You're not just a housemaid," Nathaniel said. "You've already done more for me than anyone else ever has." She looked away, pretending not to hear the gratitude. Then her phone buzzed. It was a voicemail from her mother. Maya played it on speaker. "Baby, turn on the news. They say Mr. Cole is missing. The police are looking. His brother Marcus is giving a press conference in an hour, says Nathaniel probably slipped off the boat. They're already calling it an accident." Maya's eyes met Nathaniel's. He nodded grimly. The clock just started. An hour later, Maya and Nathaniel sat side by side on her couch, watching the press conference unfold on the tiny living room TV. Marcus stood at a podium outside the Cole Foundation building, looking polished and somber in a black suit. Camera flashes lit up the morning gloom. "I am heartbroken to confirm that my brother, Nathaniel Cole, is presumed drowned after a tragic accident last night," Marcus said, voice thick with false emotion. "He had too much to drink. He was grieving. We argued earlier, but I never imagined." He paused, swallowing hard for effect. The boat was found drifting. No signs of struggle, just an open bottle of bourbon and one man's mistake. Maya scoffed. "He missed his calling. Should have been an actor." Nathaniel's jaw clenched. "He's trying to paint me as a depressed drunk. Get public sympathy. Control the narrative." "He's doing more than that," Maya said, watching the screen. Behind Marcus stood several executives from the company, faces Maya didn't recognize, but Nathaniel did. "Two of those men are swing votes on the board," he whispered. "He's pulling them close. If they hand him control, it's over." "No," Maya said firmly. "It's not over. You're not dead yet." He looked at her, his expression dark but focused. "Then we strike first." That night, they worked by candlelight to preserve the illusion that the house was empty. Nathaniel dictated names, people he trusted, places Marcus might hide evidence. Maya took notes with precision. "Do you know if he kept journals?" she asked. "Maybe. He's arrogant, and he likes control. He would have documented the takeover plan." She leaned back, eyes narrowed. "If we can find that, we flip this whole thing." Nathaniel's breath caught. For the first time since the river, a spark returned to his voice. "If we can find it." Maya stood, walked to the window, and pulled the curtain just a crack. The street was quiet, but If you're still here and enjoying the story, we'd love your support. Take a second to hit subscribe. It really means a lot. The wind had changed. "Tomorrow," she said, "we go hunting." Morning light filtered weakly through the kitchen window as Maya poured coffee into two mismatched mugs. The aroma was sharp, comforting, and strong enough to keep her upright after barely 4 hours of sleep. Nathaniel sat at the table in a borrowed hoodie and sweatpants she'd dug out of an old suitcase. The billionaire no longer looked like one. His face was still bruised, and the makeshift bandage across his temple was spotted with dried blood. But his eyes, steel gray and sharp again, were alive with strategy. "We need leverage," he said, accepting the coffee. "Something Marcus can't spin or silence." Maya nodded. "You said he might have a journal? A physical one?" "Maybe," Nathaniel said. "Marcus never trusted cloud storage. Too paranoid. He kept notes the old-fashioned way. If we can find his personal records, we'll find his plan. And if he kept a confession or anything on paper." Maya leaned back, thinking. "So we're looking for something physical, something he wouldn't store at the office." "Exactly. He had a private apartment in the French Quarter," Nathaniel said. "Never told anyone but me. He called it his war room. Said he needed a place to think. Alone." She raised an eyebrow. "Rich people are weird." Painfully, Nathaniel took another sip of coffee. It's off Royal Street, above a jazz bar called the Hollow Note. No security, just an old lock. He figured secrecy was better than protection. Maya stood. We'll go tonight. Daytime's too risky. Nathaniel nodded. We go quiet. In and out. She crossed her arms. One problem, boss. You're barely standing. And no offense, but you still look like roadkill. He smirked. That's why you go in. I'll wait nearby. Watch for trouble. Her brow furrowed. This isn't just a grab and go. What if he's got someone watching it? Then we walk away and try again, Nathaniel said calmly. I won't risk you. Not after what you've already done. She looked at him for a moment, then nodded. All right. Let's plan. They spent the afternoon prepping. Maya borrowed a set of lockpicks from Ronnie, the pawnshop guy, along with a small flashlight and a nondescript backpack. Nathaniel used the burner phone to text Howard Green with a simple code. Stage 1. Underway. Trackboard votes. Freeze movement on trust account if possible. The reply came quickly, working quietly. Marcus filed emergency leadership motion. Vote scheduled in 72 hours. 3 days, Nathaniel muttered, rubbing his temple. That's how long we've got before he legally becomes me. Maya, kneeling by the coffee table, looked up. Then let's go steal back your future. At 2:13 a.m., Maya crouched in the alley behind the Hollow Note, heart pounding. Nathaniel sat 2 blocks away in an old rental car they'd picked up with cash from a friend. His eyes scanned the street through binoculars. The radio was off. The only sound was his breath. This is the door, Maya whispered through her Bluetooth earpiece. Left side should have a rusted keyhole. Easy to miss. She found it. Took a deep breath. The lock was old, stiff, but she'd practiced on Ronnie's junk drawer padlocks all afternoon. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. From adrenaline. Click. She slipped inside, closing the door silently behind her. The stairs creaked slightly under her weight. At the top was a single steel door with a keypad lock, something she hadn't expected. Nate, you didn't mention a keypad. No. What? His voice tightened. That's new. Maya stared at the pad. 4 digits. She sighed. Give me his birthday. Nathaniel paused. He wouldn't use that. He hated anything obvious. Think like him. What would Marcus pick? Nathaniel was quiet for a beat. Then, try 1987. The year Dad died. Maya keyed it in. Beep. Green light. She stepped inside. The apartment was small, sparse, and cold. No windows. Just a desk, a lamp, a liquor cabinet, and a leather couch that hadn't been cleaned in years. The place reeked of scotch and bitterness. She moved quickly, scanning shelves, flipping cushions. The desk drawers were locked, but a firm tug broke one open. Inside, a brown leather, bound journal. She flipped through it. Schedules, names, internal memos, meeting notes. Then one page caught her eye. Plan B. If Nate resists, remove obstacle. Frame as accidental. Use press. Secure emergency vote. No. Her breath caught. She slipped the journal into the backpack. Got it, she whispered. I'm out. Good. Come back slow. Check for tails. As she stepped into the hallway, her flashlight flicked slightly across the wall and she froze. Footprints. Wet ones. Fresh. She turned the light off and listened. Breath. Someone else was in the apartment. Don't move, a deep voice growled. Maya spun, ducked low, and bolted. A hand grazed her shoulder, but she slipped free, racing down the stairs. Behind her, heavy boots pounded in pursuit. She crashed through the alley door and sprinted toward the rental car. Nate, go, go. Nathaniel started the engine as she dove into the passenger seat. A dark figure appeared at the alley mouth, but they were already speeding away. Back at the house, Maya leaned over the kitchen sink, panting, water dripping from her face as she tried to calm down. Nathaniel sat at the table, flipping through the journal, his hands steady but his eyes sharp with fury. This is it, he said. Everything we need. Someone was there, Maya said. He wasn't a thug. He moved like a pro. That wasn't random. Nathaniel closed the journal. Marcus has watchers. Maya wiped her face with a towel. That means he's nervous. And he should be. Nathaniel stood, slower now, more grounded. We take this to Green tomorrow. Quietly. No phone calls. Face to face. She nodded. And after that? I met her gaze. After that, we bring down an empire. The next morning, the city hummed with routine. Traffic lights flickered through fog. Old buses rattled along pothole-riddled streets. And vendors opened their food stalls along Street Claude Avenue, selling beignets and café au lait to early risers. But at a small cafe tucked in a forgotten corner near City Park, 3 people sat in the back booth under the quiet hum of a broken ceiling fan, 2 visible, 1 invisible to the world. Nathaniel Cole wore a borrowed cap pulled low and a pair of oversized sunglasses. A hoodie covered his bruised temple, but his posture rigid. Alert betrayed that he was no average morning patron. Across from him sat Howard Green, his longtime attorney, and the only man outside Maya who knew he was alive. And beside Nathaniel, silent and observant, Maya Williams sipped bitter coffee from a paper cup. She hadn't slept. Again, Howard adjusted his glasses, flipping through the leather-bound journal Maya had retrieved. His eyes widened with every page. "This is damning," he whispered. "This isn't just internal planning. This is intent, malice, fraud, and attempted murder," Maya added flatly. Howard looked at her, lips tight. "You witnessed it?" "Every second." "Die." Howard's pen tapped the table. "We'll need an affidavit. A signed statement. Sworn under penalty of perjury." "She'll sign it," Nathaniel said without hesitation. "Maya nodded." Howard lowered his voice. "Nathaniel, listen to me. If this goes public before we have full control, you're vulnerable. Right now, Marcus is consolidating power. If we strike too early, he'll bury us under lawyers and corporate shields." "I don't want to strike publicly," Nathaniel said. "Not yet. I want to bleed him quietly." Howard blinked. "How?" Nathaniel leaned in. "Board members, I need them. If we can turn 2, just 2, we block the vote. We stall the transition. Marcus loses momentum. Once that's done, we drop the journal. On national media, let the world tear him apart." Howard chuckled softly. "You always were more chess than checkers." Nathaniel smiled faintly. "And you were always the rook I needed." Howard stood. "Give me 48 hours. I'll feel out the board. Carefully. Lay the groundwork. You stay hidden. And Maya?" Howard glanced at her. "She's your ace. Keep her close." Later that afternoon, Maya and Nathaniel walked through Crescent Park, far from any cameras or familiar faces. He wore a worn Pelicans cap this time, blending in like just another tired New Orleanian trying to survive the heat. They strolled in silence for a while until Maya finally asked, "You ever wonder what made him snap?" Nathaniel shrugged. "It wasn't a snap. Marcus always had it in him. Resentment ages like whiskey, bitter, thick, and it always comes out when the bottle cracks." "He blames you," she said. "He blames the world. I just have a face he recognizes." Maya stopped by a bench, sitting down. "You ever blame yourself?" He looked at her. "For living? For being born into money? For not giving him a seat at the table?" Nathaniel hesitated. "I tried. When Dad passed, I offered him a VP role. High salary, no stress. But he wanted more. He wanted everything." She nodded slowly. "He was born in shadows. Maybe he thought taking your light would fix that." Nathaniel sat beside her. "Funny thing is, I would have given it to him. All of it. I never cared about the title." "Then why fight now?" she asked. He looked at her with fire returning to his eyes. "Because he tried to kill me. Because he turned my life into a eulogy. Because people like him don't stop until you make them." A beat passed. Maya looked away, jaw tight. "He knows I saw him. That's why he had someone at the apartment. If he finds me..." "He won't," Nathaniel interrupted. "You're under my protection now." She smiled, dry and tired. "Funny, that's what I told myself about you." That evening, in a gated high-rise on Magazine Street, Marcus Cole stood in his penthouse office, sipping aged scotch as he stared at the city lights below. Behind him, Victor Blackwell, his private investigator, spoke into a burner phone. "No sign of the body yet. River teams found nothing." Marcus nodded, his jaw clenching. "What about the woman?" Victor hesitated. "No clear leads. She's smart. No credit activity. Nothing digital. But, Marcus turned slowly. But what? Victor pulled a photo from his pocket-grainy surveillance footage from the pawn shop, time-stamped early morning. Recognize her? Marcus took one look and froze. His voice dropped to ice. Maya William. Victor raised an eyebrow. She's a problem? She's a witness, Marcus snarled. She worked for my brother. If she saw anything, you want me to lean on her? Marcus turned back to the window, finishing his drink. No, not yet. We don't make noise. We let them feel safe. Then we end it quietly. Victor nodded and left. Marcus whispered to himself, "You should have stayed dead, Nate." Back at Maya's home, Kendra had returned curly-haired, 10, and full of life. She ran into Maya's arms the second she opened the door. "I missed you, Mama. I missed you more, baby." Nathaniel watched from the kitchen, quietly moved. He had once seen Maya only as a housemaid. Now, she was becoming something else entirely. An anchor. A shield. A partner. Later, after tucking Kendra in, Maya sat beside Nathaniel on the porch. "She doesn't know anything yet," she said. "Keep it that way." The street was quiet. Fireflies blinked like tiny secrets in the air. Maya stared ahead. "So what's next?" Nathaniel didn't answer right away. Then he said softly, "We shake his tree, see what falls out." The night air in New Orleans carried the faint tang of river salt and fried food drifting up from street vendors. Somewhere in the French Quarter, a trumpet wailed through the open window of a bar, spilling blue notes into the humid dark. It was the kind of city noise that usually made Maya feel grounded. Tonight, it made her restless. She sat on the porch steps with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, watching the empty street. Nathaniel stood just inside the doorway, his frame outlined by the dim porch light. He wasn't wearing his disguise now, no cap, no sunglasses, just himself, bruised and broken but unbowed. "We can't wait for Green to do everything," Nathaniel said finally. His voice was quiet but firm. "Marcus will come looking. He already has men in play. That means we need to get ahead." Maya turned her head, studying him. "Ahead how? You barely made it out of the river, Nate. You can't storm his penthouse with a busted rib and a prayer." "I don't need to storm anything," he replied. "I need to shake him. Make him paranoid. Marcus thrives when he feels untouchable. If he thinks shadows are moving against him, he'll slip." "And you want me in those shadows," she said flatly. "I want you where I can trust someone," Nathaniel answered. His eyes softened. "That list is short." "Oh." For a long moment, Maya didn't speak. She pulled the blanket tighter around her and whispered, "I'll help. But I'm not doing this for your empire. I'm doing it so my daughter doesn't grow up thinking men like Marcus always win." Nathaniel nodded once, slow and solemn. "That's enough for me." The next morning, Maya walked Kendra to school. The girl chattered about a spelling test, her backpack bouncing with each step. Maya listened, smiling where she could, but her eyes kept scanning the street. A black sedan idled a little too long on the corner before pulling away. She made a mental note. After dropping Kendra off, she hurried back. Nathaniel was pacing in the kitchen, coffee in hand, his bruised face tense. "She's safe?" he asked. "For now," Maya said. "But we're being watched. They're already sniffing." He exhaled sharply. "Then we have to move faster." He spread the journal out on the table. Pages covered in Marcus's cramped handwriting detailed meeting notes, contacts, off-the-record deals. One name kept recurring, Harlan Royce, a board member who had wavered between loyalty and greed for years. "Harlan," Nathaniel muttered. "Marcus must have promised him something. If we can flip him back." "Then Marcus doesn't have the votes," Maya finished. "And Green buys us time." Nathaniel tapped the page. "Royce lives in a brownstone off Royal Street. Private, quiet. I know him. He likes being courted." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You're gonna stroll up his front door looking like you went 12 rounds with Mike Tyson?" Nathaniel almost smiled. "No, you are." Maya blinked. "Excuse me?" "You'll get in where I can't," he explained. "Royce won't expect you. He won't see you as a threat. But once you're in, you can pass him a message. Something only he and I would know." She folded her arms. "You really think he'll listen to a maid?" Nathaniel's eyes didn't waver. "You're not a maid to me, and you won't be to him once he realizes you carry his future in your pocket. That night, Maya stood on the stoop of Harlan Royce's brownstone, heart pounding. The French Quarter buzzed a block away, but here the street was hushed, shadows thick under the street lamps. She wore a simple dress, nothing flashy, her hair pulled back. She carried the journal page Nathaniel had told her to bring. The door opened after the second knock. Royce himself appeared late 60s, sharp suit even at home, his eyes suspicious. "Can I help you?" Maya held her ground. "Mr. Royce, Nathaniel Cole sent me." He blinked, taken aback. "Impossible. Nathaniel is dead?" "That's what Marcus wants you to think," Maya said quickly. She held up the page. "But he's not. And he knows about the loan you took in 2014. The one Marcus doesn't." Royce's face went pale. He stepped aside slowly. "Come in." The living room was dim, lined with shelves of law books and old jazz records. Royce poured himself a drink with shaking hands. "You're telling me Nathaniel is alive?" he asked. "Yes," Maya said firmly. "And Marcus tried to kill him. I saw it." Royce sank into his chair, muttering, "My God." Maya leaned forward. "You're being played. If Marcus gets control, you'll be nothing more than another pawn. Nathaniel wants to meet you. Quietly. If you have any loyalty left, you'll listen." "Bye." Royce rubbed his forehead. "He saved my career once. I owe him more than I gave." "Then prove it," Maya said. "Vote against Marcus. Block him. Give us time to bring the truth out." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Tell him. Tell Nathaniel I'll stand with him." One last time. Maya exhaled, relief flooding her chest. As she left the brownstone, rain began to fall again, soft and steady. She pulled her hood up and hurried down the street. A shadow moved at the corner, a tall figure, standing too still. Her pulse quickened. She walked faster, cutting through an alley. Footsteps followed. "Maya," a voice called, male, low, unfamiliar. She broke into a run. The footsteps quickened behind her. She burst out onto Royal Street and spotted the rental car idling across the way. Nathaniel flung the door open. She dove inside, slamming it shut. "Go!" she gasped. He hit the gas, tires squealing against the wet pavement. Through the rear window, she saw the man step under a street lamp. A scar ran down his cheek. He smiled coldly before vanishing into the shadows. Back at the house, Maya pressed a towel to her face, shaking. Nathaniel sat across from her, journal in hand. "You were followed," he said quietly. "I know. Royce will stand with us?" She nodded. "He's in. But so are they. They know my name now." Nathaniel's eyes darkened. Then Marcus just made his biggest mistake. Maya looked up. "Why?" "Because now it's not just about me," Nathaniel said. His voice was steady, filled with fire. "It's about you, and I don't lose the people who save me." News vans had become a caustic, constant presence at the edges of Nathaniel's life, the kind of machinery that turned grief into spectacle and rumor into law. Marcus used them like a scalpel, carving the narrative he wanted: a grieving brother, a tragic accident, a company in need of steady hands. It was the kind of performance Nathaniel had expected to see on television, but not like this, not with his own face missing from the world. Howard Green moved like an old man who knew precisely how to hurry when it mattered. He had a black wool coat that smelled faintly of pipe tobacco and lemon oil from the leather briefcase he always polished, and he wore his loyalty like a second skin. Howard spent the morning weaving around the corporate machine courtrooms, coffees with long-suffering board members, whispered promises in narrow lobbies. He was careful. He paid dinners with cash. He left no trail. At noon, Howard slipped into a quiet luncheon at the Pelican Room, where Harlan Royce had agreed to meet him after Maya's visit. Royce arrived with the careful gait of someone who'd been counting reputations longer than most people counted money. He spoke in quick, small sentences, each one measured. "There are people who've lined up behind Marcus. Promises made. Investments sweetened," Royce said over the shrimp étouffée, watching Howard over his rimless glasses. Howard's response was a soft, dry laugh. "Promises always cost something. But so does loyalty. Mr. Royce, you might find that the ledger doesn't favor folks who let greed write the final line." Royce's eyes tightened. "You're suggesting he lied?" I'm suggesting we look at the books before deciding to hand a man the keys to the kingdom, Howard said. He folded a napkin slowly and set it on the table. Give us a day or two. Let me prove you have options. Across town, in a less savory office, Victor Blackwell was making his own quiet moves. Marcus trusted him to press the small, ugly buttons that made people flinch, a shove here, a whisper there. Victor kept a list and checked it twice. He had a way of making people remember old debts. Ronnie the pawnbroker had noticed the men in cheap suits asking questions at the shop. He'd felt the chill of watchful eyes on his back. He'd learned enough to keep that phone line open. Maya's world, by contrast, was a wrung-out kind of normalcy. Kendra's homework spread across the kitchen table, a pot of jambalaya simmering on the stove, and the radio murmuring local gospel. Kendra was bright, the kind of child who asked questions as if the world owed them to her. That morning's spelling test had been a triumph. Maya kissed the top of her daughter's head like she kissed the roof of the house, soft and grateful. "Mom, when is Mr. Cole going to be all better?" Kendra asked, folding her worksheets into perfect squares. Maya smiled, the tired sort that keeps its edges sharp. "Soon, baby. We're fixing the problem." "No." Kendra nodded, satisfied, and took her backpack to school with the swing of children who still believed some grown-ups could fix anything. Back at the house, Nathaniel and Maya hunched over the journal like conspirators drafting the map to a treasure they had no right to but every reason to claim. They matched names to dates, faces to meetings. Each line read like a thread to be pulled. "There's a registered transfer here," Nathaniel said, tapping a page. "Shell Company in Baton Rouge. Large deposits right after Dad's will was filed." Maya drew a breath. "We can trace that." "We will," he said. "But quietly. If they notice we're looking, Marcus will bury this in litigation." She looked at him, the streetlight painting his bruise in amber. "Are you sure you want to go public? Because once that door opens, you can't close it." Nathaniel's chin lifted. That stubborn old posture of a man who had signed contracts with his name in block letters. "He tried to bury me alive, Maya. The longer we hide, the safer he feels. I'd rather stand and speak than rot in silence." Howard's update arrived as a folded envelope left under the third step of Maya's porch. 2 names, an ally and a danger. Royce had consented to hold, for now. Another board member proved fickle. Maya tucked the note into her bra like contraband and set the kettle on. She felt the town press close around them, friends, neighbors, the woman across the street who left casseroles without asking questions. The Ninth Ward was stitched of small mercies and big loyalties, and Maya leaned on both. That afternoon, an anonymous letter arrived on her kitchen table, delivered with the kind of precision that unnerved even Maya. "We saw you," it read in a blocky, corporate typeface. "Stay quiet or we make sure you drown with him." Maya folded the paper slowly. Her hands did not tremble. She had been stared at by fear before. This kind of threat was new because of its precision, its willingness to aim at children and porches. She walked into the living room where Nathaniel sat, looking over bank ledgers. He glanced up when she set the letter down without comment. She let the silence be the argument she didn't want to make. "They know you're alive," she said finally. He looked at her. "We knew that when Victor saw the pawnshop footage." "Oh, they want me to be scared," she continued. "They want me to hide." Nathaniel closed the ledger and stood. He crossed the room and placed both hands on the back of a chair as if to steady himself. "Then we give them reason to be scared in return." "You sound like a man who's going to start a war," Maya said. She was half joking and fully afraid. "If it is a war," Nathaniel said, voice steady, "let it be a fight for truth." "Mace." Howard called that night to say he'd secured the ear of one more swing vote. It would be a narrow ledger of success, but it was a start. "We're not out of the woods," he told them. "But the path is clearer." As they hung up, the three of them shared a quiet, tired laugh, an absurd little sound that belonged to people who had chosen to face danger rather than craft excuses. Before Maya went to bed, she slipped into Kendra's room and watched her sleep. The small chest rose and fell, steady and innocent. She whispered into the dimness, a whisper that was more a promise than prayer. "I will not let anyone take her light." Outside, the city hummed music, traffic, the slow hum of a place that had weathered storms more terrible than this. A porch light flicked on 2 houses down, and an old man shuffled his papers, peering into the night to see who might be walking past. In New Orleans, everyone knew someone who'd been kept safe by someone else's courage. That knowledge was a kind of history Nathaniel hadn't fully understood until now. He watched Maya return to the kitchen, the weight of the world settling into a small, resolute set of shoulders. He thought of his father's courthouse lunches and the cracked marble of his own office. He thought about all the men who thought that money could mend the small, crooked things in their hearts. "We strike when the time is right," he said quietly. Maya leaned against the counter, looked at him, and gave that crooked half-smile that had become her armor. "We strike when we can win." Howard Green's office smelled of old books and lemon oil, the kind of place that felt like a courtroom even when no judge was present. The paneled walls were lined with framed photos of cases won, and clients protected silent witnesses to a long career spent shaping outcomes in the shadows. Howard sat behind his desk, with the journal open in front of him, a pair of reading glasses perched on the end of his nose. He'd seen scandals stitched with silk before. This one came wrapped in violence. "Marcus is clever," Howard said, not looking up. "He's polished his story, and he's selling grief. The problem is the ledger you pulled. It suggests intent. That changes everything." Nathaniel watched him, feeling the old rhythms of legal strategy settle in like a familiar coat. "We move carefully. We don't go public until we can prove he arranged everything. I don't want a legal circus that ends with him buying silence." Howard nodded. "We need a paper trail, bank accounts, third-party transfers. Shell companies don't like concrete questions. I've got people who can chase the money without anyone seeing their footprints. But it takes time. Time we don't have," Maya said, leaning against the windowsill. Her voice was tired but steady. "He's already using the cameras. He's planted people. He'll escalate." Howard steepled his fingers. "Then we force his hand. You both know how Marcus uses image. He needs a narrative. A plausible one. If we deny him that narrative, he has to invent another, riskier option." Nathaniel rubbed the bridge of his nose. "We can't just dig. We have to make them believe they're being watched, without actually letting them know we're watching. Psychological pressure." Howard's eyes twinkled with the spark of a strategist. "A little theater," he said. "It's sometimes the difference between a guilty conscience and a guilty defendant." They split the work cleanly. Howard would comb the financials and quietly meet with the swing votes Howard could still reach. Nathaniel would prepare to reappear in small, controlled ways through proxies, messages, planted leaks, carefully timed sightings. Maya would remain their covert operative in plain clothes, moving through places where Marcus's men wouldn't expect trouble to come from. "Marcus underestimates people like you," Howard told Maya. "He used the formal address on purpose, to remind them of the stakes and decorum that sometimes bent the will of powerful men. He thinks he can intimidate. He's never learned what happens when a community decides to make noise on behalf of one person." Maya's smile was quick and private. "We make people uncomfortable, make them ask questions. That's how secrets get restless." Howard left with a stack of copies of the journal tucked into his satchel, his gait brisk. "2 days," he said. "Give me 2 days and some corners will start to look less tidy." After he left, Nathaniel and Maya sat in the quiet that followed like two co-conspirators listening for the next footstep. "Let's talk optics," Nathaniel said. "We can't have you running around doing things that put Kendra at risk. But there are places Marcus won't look. The charity luncheons, the neighborhood associations he thinks don't matter. That's where you can go, be seen, and quietly ask questions." Maya crossed her legs. "You want me to be the face of a neighborhood watch?" "A face with teeth," Nathaniel amended. "You already command attention. You don't need to say much for people to listen." "Do?" They made a list. Harlan Royce's follow-through, 2 lesser-known board members who'd been shaky, and 1 accountant Nathaniel suspected of having loose ethics. Maya would attend a community meeting that night, not as a spy but as a neighbor concerned about river safety and trespassing topics that would draw out the kind of men who'd speak too freely. They would listen, and someone would say something that mattered. That evening, Maya stepped into the community center with a casserole dish cradled like a peace offering. The room smelled of baked ham and collard greens. Folding chairs lined the space where a dozen neighbors gathered. It was the kind of place where people remembered names and debts, and who'd once loaned whom sugar when the store was closed. Maya set the dish down and greeted old Mrs. Calloway, who patted her hand as if checking for a pulse. "How you holding up, baby?" Mrs. Calloway asked. "Making do," Maya said, smiling. "How's Earl's knee?" They talked small talk like people who'd always had to. Maya listened for the small things: who sat where, who kept their eyes too low, who laughed too loudly. Men came in with badges from the water authority, some in suits from a construction site.